Camera sensor size comparison. What does it all mean and which camera sensor size is right for you? We've got it all explained in this video. So here I have 3 different cameras with 3 different sensor sizes, and comparing them is a total minefield. But fear not, my photography friends, we are going to explain it all in this video. Do you need a full frame camera or an APS-C camera or a micro four thirds camera? Do they have different visual effects? Are they better quality? Do you need different lenses? All of these questions I'm going to answer, and by the end of this video you are definitely going to know what system is right for you. Plus I've got a free downloadable guide, sensor size comparison guide, link in the description. Go and grab it and use it however you wish. So the first question is, what is a sensor? All right, what is a sensor? Well, the sensor is a digital chip which is inside the camera body, and it captures light beams. It's as simple as that. It's what creates the image. In the olden days it was film. In these modern days it's a digital chip, and quite simply it captures light and gives you the image. The next question is, why the different sensor sizes? Why don't we just have the same sensor size in all of the cameras? That would make life a lot easier. In the olden days, the most common camera was the 35mm camera. So pretty much most cameras that you buy had the same equivalent of a sensor, and you didn't have to worry about anything, right? But these days you have different sensor sizes for different reasons. The 3 common sensor sizes that you have are the full frame camera, which is this one here. And the full frame camera is based on the old 35mm negative. It is, for argument's sake, 35mm along its longest edge. The next one to talk to you about is the most common one, and that is the APS-C sensor. Sometimes it's referred to as the crop sensor. I'm just going to grab that now. Now, this is a smaller sensor than the full frame. It is 22mm along its longest edge, so it's a smaller sensor. And the next common sensor size is called the micro four thirds, and I'm just going to grab that now. And the sensor in the micro four thirds camera is 17mm along its longest edge, and it's basically half the size of the full frame sensor. So the main difference between the sensors is obviously its size. One is bigger and one is smaller. Now, the bigger the sensor, the bigger the camera body needed to support it, and the smaller the camera sensor, the smaller the body. All right, the bigger the sensor, the more light it captures and the more detail that it captures, and the bigger sensors tend to be more expensive as well. So there are 2 main reasons why camera companies make different camera sensor sizes. All right, the first one is cost. It costs less to manufacture smaller sensor sizes, and therefore that cost can be passed on to the consumer, i.e. you. That particularly comes into effect in the APS-C system, because that is the most popular system that people buy, and there's where you can grab some bargains in this what camera should I buy world. All right, all these camera manufacturers are competing against each other, and that's the most common sensor size. Therefore your bargains are going to probably be had in the APS-C sensor range. The next is camera size. All right, so camera manufacturers do smaller sensors to give you guys smaller kits to carry around. All right, full frame cameras are big and heavy, and the lenses needed for these types of cameras, again, are big and heavy. Whereas micro four thirds cameras, like these ones here, are much smaller and lighter, and so are the lenses, right? So camera manufacturers give you that option to take around a smaller kit if you wish. So now let's talk about camera sensor sizes and lenses. Loads of confusion around this subject, all right? Now, the camera sensor size does not affect the lens. It affects the focal length of the lens. Now, for more in-depth knowledge on focal lengths, go and check out our complete guide to photography course where we teach you all about lenses and focal lengths. But to put it in a nutshell, your focal length is how far zoomed in or zoomed out you are. It's your angle of view. And if you take a picture on different camera sensor sizes at the same focal length, you will get a different visual effect. And we're going to put that to the test right now. So we have got in front of us here a beautiful Tudor church. It's over 500 years old, this church, and we're going to use it as a focal point. And we're going to put this now to the test. I'm going to take 3 different shots with 3 different camera sensor sizes in the same spot, exactly the same spot. I've got this tripod all set up so each camera is going to be taken in exactly the same spot. At the same focal length. We're going to use a focal length of 35mm, okay? So same spot, different camera sensor sizes, same focal length. Let's take the first shot. This is the full frame camera. Okay, here we go. Easy as that. That's the first shot. Now I'm going to change to the APS-C sensor. Okay, now I've got the APS-C sensor camera on. Again, exactly the same place. The focal length is set to 35mm, and I'm going to take the shot. Just like that. Now what you can see from them 2 pictures, from the full frame shot to this shot, is that this one is cropped in slightly, hence the term crop sensor. You know, it really is as simple as that. We've got the same position, the same focal length, but different sensor sizes. So one is a bigger sensor size, so it's capturing more around the edge. The other one's a cropped sensor size, so it's capturing, well, a cropped version of what we did before. Now let's do the same thing with the Micro Four Thirds camera. And there you go, there's another shot taken in exactly the same place at exactly the same focal length, but with a smaller sensor, and you can see that it is cropped in further. So it really is as simple as this. As the sensor size gets smaller, so does your angle of view. It gets cropped in further. So full frame is bigger, APS-C is cropped in slightly, Micro Four Thirds is cropped in even more when you're taking the picture in the same place at the same focal length. So the focal length doesn't change, the visual effect of the picture changes, it crops in more. So how do you compensate? How do you get the same visual look with different sensor sizes? Well, it's really simple. You zoom out a bit. So the smaller the sensor, the more cropped in you are. So to compensate, you quite simply zoom out a bit and you get the same visual effect. Now we are going to put that to the test right now. Now if you want the equivalent focal lengths for the different sensor sizes, because it can be very complex, we've got it for you. All right, there's a link in the description of this video. Click on it and you can download it and keep it with you, keep it in your camera bag, and it will tell you what focal length is equivalent on each sensor sizes. So it's a really handy thing to have with you. Go and grab that, it's in the description of this video. So yeah, we're going to put it to the test. So our initial shot with the full frame, was at 35 millimeters of focal length. To get the equivalent look on a crop sensor camera, an APS-C camera, you quite simply zoom out to 22 millimeters of focal length and you will get exactly the same look. Let's put it to the test. Okay, now I've got the crop sensor camera on here, the APS-C camera on. I've put my focal length to 22 mil. I'm going to take the picture and let's see how it looks. Okay, there you go. And that is giving me the same visual look as the full frame camera when it was taken at a focal length of 35 mil. So it's simple, isn't it, really, when you think about it, to get the same visual effect with a smaller sensor. You zoom out a bit. Simple as that. Let's do it with the Micro Four Thirds camera as well. Okay, so I've now put the Micro Four Thirds camera on. I'm in exactly the same place again, and to work out the equivalent on a Micro Four Thirds is really easy. You just half the full frame focal length. So the full frame focal length was 35, half of that 17.5. You put the focal length 17.5 on here, take the shot, and you should get exactly the same visual look. So let's do it. Here we go. And there you go, the camera is in the same spot and we've got the same visual look as the crop sensor camera and the full frame camera, because we've zoomed out a bit, quite simply with half the focal length of the full frame camera. And that's it. So let's compare them three shots. As you can see, it is as simple as this. You quite simply zoom out a bit to get the same visual effect on smaller sensor sizes. If you want the exact equivalent focal lengths for different sensor sizes, like I said, you can download it, link in the description of this video. Really handy guide to keep with you. So now let's talk about the pros and cons of full frame sensors and smaller sensors. We'll start with full frame. The pros of a full frame camera are this: you do get better quality and more detail, and that's because it's a bigger sensor and quite simply it is capturing more light. You can also achieve a shallower depth of field with larger sensors, with the full frame sensor, but not by much, and I've actually put it to the test in another video. I'll link to it so you can go and have a look at that and you can visually see the difference between a Micro Four Thirds sensor and a full frame sensor. There is a difference, okay? You can get a shallower depth of field with larger sensor sizes with a full frame sensor, but not by much, and I advise you to go and watch that to see just how slight it is. And another pro to a full frame sensor is it performs better at higher ISOs, so in low light conditions. If you're doing a lot of low light work, you know, a full frame sensor will benefit you, and that's because it's capturing more light, okay? So at higher ISOs, full frames perform better. If you want to know what ISO and noise is, you know, we cover it in depth over at theschoolofphotography.com. Come over and see us, you know, we can definitely teach you all of that. So here are the cons of full frame sensor cameras. Firstly, the obvious one, it's bigger, all right? It's a bigger sensor, it needs a bigger camera body, a heavier camera body, but more importantly, it needs bigger lenses and bigger tripods to take the weight of it all right? So if you think of a full frame camera with 3 lenses and a big tripod, you're gonna need a big tripod for a full frame camera. You're gonna carry that all around with you. It's big, it's a lot bigger than the other sensor sizes, which I'll come to in a minute. So that is something that you need to consider, and it can be a negative with a full frame system kit. Another con is it's generally more expensive to buy a full frame kit. So again, it's not just about the camera. The camera is generally more expensive. A full frame camera is generally more expensive, but so are the lenses, so are the accessories, so are the tripods that you need to go with them. You know, the whole kit can become a lot more expensive if you're going to buy full frame. So make sure you've got deep pockets. So let's talk about the smaller sensor sizes and the pros and cons of them. Firstly, it's smaller, all right? So in contrast to a big full frame sensor kit, it's smaller. You've got a smaller camera body, a lighter camera body, smaller lenses. The tripod that you use can be smaller and lighter because it hasn't got to take all of the weight. So your whole kit can be smaller, particularly with the Micro Four Thirds system. And the next pro to the smaller sensors is, again, in contrast to the other one, it's cheaper, all right? Generally, smaller sensor kits are cheaper. Again, the camera body's cheaper, the lenses are cheaper, and the tripods are cheaper and everything like that. So you can have a smaller and cheaper kit with the smaller sensor sizes. So now let's talk about the cons of the smaller sensors. The first one is lower quality, all right? You've got a smaller sensor, it is capturing less light. But let's be clear on this. Yes, it's lower quality than a full frame equivalent, but it's by no means low quality. The quality that these cameras, the Micro Four Thirds and the crop sensor cameras, the quality that they produce these days is brilliant. And for 90% of the things that you do, it will be fine, okay? So let's just be clear. Yes, it's lower quality than the full frame equivalent, but by no means is it low quality. And another con to smaller sensors is that they perform worse at higher ISOs, you know, in contrast to what I've just told you about full frame sensors. So at higher ISOs, they perform worse. You're going to get more noise, all right? So that is something to consider if you're going to be shooting at very high ISOs. I don't mean, you know, like your 1600 or your 3200. If you're going higher than that, you're going to notice it quite a lot actually with the smaller sensors. So here is my conclusion, all right? Let's have a look at two pictures taken, one taken with a full frame and one taken with a Micro Four Thirds camera. Can you notice the difference between these two shots? The answer there is probably not, particularly on screen, all right? You are not going to notice any difference really if you're looking at your pictures just on screen. So at the end of the day, you need to figure out first what you're going to be doing with your photography. And I'm going to give you some questions to answer, and when you answer these questions you will know what system is right for you. So firstly, are you going to be printing big? And when I say big, you know, past a meter in length kind of big. That's the first question. And are you going to do any heavy manipulation on your pictures, like retouching of the face, you know, doing fantasy scenes or anything like that? If you're printing past, you know, a meter or doing heavy manipulation, face retouching and things like that, you're probably going to want to go with the full frame camera because it's going to give you more detail to do them things with. And the next question is this: how much money do you want to spend? You know, if you're rich, you've got bottomless pockets, then, you know, it doesn't matter to you. But there will be a limit on people's budgets. So just remember that smaller systems, the APS-C system, Micro Four Thirds system, overall is going to be cheaper. The lenses are going to be cheaper. The tripods you're going to need are going to be cheaper. The camera bags are going to be smaller. You know, everything is going to be cheaper. So your whole kit will be considerably less money than a full frame kit. And the next question is this: how much do you want to carry around with you? How much in size and how much in weight? Is that important to you? Because if it is important to you, if you want to carry something light around with you, you're going to need a smaller system, Micro Four Thirds or APS-C. Because like I've said to you before, it's not just about the camera sensor size and the body, it's everything that goes with it. So smaller sensors have got smaller kits, smaller lenses, smaller tripods, smaller bags, you know, all of them things. So you've got to ask yourself that, do you want to carry around big kits with you, or does it not bother you? You know, you've got to just ask yourself these questions, and once you've answered all of them questions, you should be nicely informed on what kit you need or what kit you want. And all of them questions are in the link of the description of this video, right? So, you know, you can click on that and the questions will be there, so you can, you know, take your time if you want. And also don't forget to download our free sensor size comparison guide and chart, because again, that is really going to help you out understanding all about the different sensor sizes and what kit you should be going for. So if this video has helped you out, you now need to help us out, okay? You need to engage with this video. Leave us a comment, like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel, right? We need you to do it, because if you don't, we can't bring you these videos, all right? YouTube relies on engagement of the video, so engage with it, at least like it, give us a comment and things like that. We really, really appreciate it. Don't forget to come over to theschoolofphotography.com if you want to learn photography properly. We've got loads of courses over there for you in photography, Photoshop, Lightroom, studio lighting, you know, loads and loads of stuff. Come over and see us. I hope you've liked this video. Thanks for watching, and remember, learn more at the School of Photography. Here comes the sun. Da, 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 da.